with respect to people that see the results, sometimes I've shared with them, what's going on, and sometimes their first response is, well, what credentials do you guys have? And I want to know if you could just elaborate on that, because it's funny. We have these amazing results. We've had 8 people, two, all of them are at least 70%, and then 6 of the 8 are down over 90%. So, these are just unprecedented results, but there's still this feeling of, well, you guys don't have any credentials. I wonder if you could
I can answer that. I could be,
What do you say? I don't even know what to say to that. But
there's some... admittedly, I am sometimes politically incorrect. I'm a smart ass. I come from a very witty Italian family that all my life, part of affection was being a smart ass. So I do have a smart ass answer that comes to my mind right away. This is our credentials. We have sterling credentials, that we have no credentials in the field. See, credentials seem to be self-limiting in the field, So what credentials we have? We absolutely do not have any of the credentials, any of those certifications or trainings that have been used so far to treat the problem. Now think about it for a second. If I told you that there was someone who, had some sort of a problem, and they were consistently going to a certain type of person to solve this problem, wouldn't you to go to, what do they say? To try the same solution to the same problem over and over again and expect a different result is a type of definition of insanity. One of the things. So, okay, if you keep on going to the same type of people to solve the same problem and you're not getting a solution, better to go to a different type of person. Better go to people who don't have those credentials. So the smart ass answer is, our credentials we don't have any of those credentials that didn't work in this case. That's smart ass. But then again, what sort of credentials do we have? Do you need credentials for everything you do? So, all right, how did the first person get their credentials? Even if you look at the credentials of a medical doctor, which are extensive and regulated and stuff like that. If you look at 100 years ago, what it took to be a medical doctor, it was very not standardized and very strange. And, and 200 years ago, that even gets to be stranger or whatever. Credentials come from somewhere, from some initial thing. And our field is relatively new compared to, say, the medical field and other things like that. And, all right, we have credentialed people. We have doctors who've come through. We've had psychiatrists who've come through. I consider myself more credentialed as a scientist, I guess. And I don't have a lot of high-level credentials, but I think I'm a good scientific thinker. And I've done some exceptional things in my life. I've done interesting things in my life. I think that my credentials are, I'm an interesting person, I'm a controversial person, but most importantly, I'm an unconventional person. And in some cases, when conventional solutions don't work, maybe the unconventional way of thinking does. I consider myself pretty rational. I consider myself pretty scientific. I always strive to be more so. So my credentials, first, are that I'm a human that cares, that's had a good amount of education and has done a number of interesting things and done some things well and done some things that maybe I might think are done well that other people might think are done horrifically. But I'm certainly colorful, unique. So, I don't know, if you're trying to solve a problem and you keep on going to the establishment and you keep on getting the same answer, which is a non-solution, sometimes you want to go to something that's unique. Now, is it specious, ridiculous? Does what we say not make sense? I don't think so. I think most of what we say makes sense. It's not grounded in mysticism at all. It's not grounded in a lot of things that maybe are highly effective but are unexplainable. We have at least an explanation for what we do. And it doesn't rely on anything that's outside of being verified in the future, or that we verified to some degree already. So, what's our credentials? We make sense. I think we make good sense. And does it matter? You know, some people ask, they talk about, well, do you have double-blind scientific studies? You know, maybe we'll do that. Those things are useful tools to discover why. But if you're trying to shoot for the moon and you land people on the moon, you can't say, well, that didn't really happen because you didn't have the right credentials. There is a result. How much we cause the result is the question. But we do have this interesting either witnessing or participation in it. And I do believe, I mean, the fact that we can take someone who has this thing that is theoretically not curable, from what I understand, theoretically, you know, they need deep brain state, all this sort of a thing that sounds very hardware oriented, and using, it's no hands-on, no nothing, no manipulation, nothing like that, just conversation in 2 hours, have it measurably not there anymore. Either we're selecting the person very, very intelligently, which means we have a good method of selection. That'd be great. Imagine if we could select everyone whose Tourette's was going to go away and measure it, because that might help us with the people who we didn't select. That gives us a lot of knowledge. If we could, you know, with most scientific events, if we could be at the right place to witness what happens, we would learn so much. So even if we're just at the right place, we pick the very 2 hours that this person who's had Tourette's for a long, long, long time is going to shed it, and we happen to know exactly when, and we sit them down and we can measure it, that's useful. So the bottom line is, I don't know exactly how much we cause it. I believe I have an explanation for it. I believe we have a methodology for it. It is certainly not double-blind tested, but the truth of the matter is, these people, we've witnessed them undergo this transformation, and it seems a lot like we participate strongly in the cause.